Hello, beloveds. This is Reverend Amani Malika here from the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living. And I am so glad you are here at this video at this time or listening to this podcast at this time. I wanted to hop on because Reverend Raymont and I recorded these messages ahead of time. And I just wanted to make sure you know that you get to go deeper and you get to be supported in spiritual community. You do not have to be audacious and bold alone. So I want to invite you to join us if you are in the Albuquerque area on Sunday afternoons at 4 p.m. for our in-person gatherings. You can learn more at our website, abqcsl.org. And if you are participating online, you also get to be supported. We have some online small groups and ways that you can receive prayer and affirmations and all the things directly to your phone. So again, learn more at abqcsl.org. May you be so alive in your divine, holy, amazing nature that is unique, that is perfect, that you get to boldly and audaciously move in your life as the incredible being that you are. This, my friends, is what changes the world. I love you so much. Enjoy. All right, give us some Morpheus wisdom.
So for those who are unaware, in the movie The Matrix, Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne's character is telling Keanu Reeves, Neo's character, regarding the system of, quote unquote, the Matrix. And he says to Neo, what you must learn is that there are these rules. And they're no different than these rules that operate a computer system. Some of these rules can be bent. Others can be broken. Mic drop. Right? Some rules can be bent. Others can be broken. So, in this idea of, what is it, being unbound and unstoppable, whatever we're looking at, like, let's jump there. So systemic oppression in any form that it shows up. It's easy to say, oh, well, the system is stopping people from, and pause. What did we say last week with evidence? Pause, because there was a system that said women can't vote, that women are unequal. And then specifically the Black women suffragists moved the women's suffragist movement in such a way that those rules were bent and many of them broken. Are some of them still showing up? Yes. But once again, we're invited today. How do we bend? How do we break? How do we move to that space? Because if God, spirit, source, the universe, it has no limit, and it's all that there is, and it's what we are, then there is that infinite aspect of us that says, how am I embodying being an unstoppable, unbound, or boundless embodiment of the universe itself?
That's right.
Regardless of what's going on out there.
Yeah. And, and one of the things that I think is so important is like we talked about previously, is like, there's evidence. We already have evidence that we can break these rules or these habits of thought, of being, of systemic oppression, of whatever we need to break free of. Right? We know how to do it. We can look at the history and we can look at the ways that those things have already been broken and unrestrained. But I think, this idea that understanding yourself to be a rule breaker, understanding yourself to be someone who is willing to step outside of the boxes. And it, there requires some recognition that there are boxes, right? So that then we can step outside them, so we can break those walls down. And I know for me, the it's easier for me to bump up against outer restraint,
Right.
right? Outer rules like that other people try to put on. I can more easily recognize like that's some bullshit. I'm not doing that, right? Like
Right. Right.
I know myself to be a rule breaker. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
not a challenge for me, and that can be a challenge for other people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Where I know I have to be more diligent is being willing to break down and get free of the rules I have made for myself internally.
Right. Right. Yeah. Where are you imposing that self-limiting speed limit that I can go as fast as I want, but I put this thing that said, no, 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 this is a
That's right.
55.
That's right.
Why do I have that? Yeah,
That's
I'm with you on that.
right.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I know about the glass ceiling,
Yeah.
but no one has limited my ceiling more than I have limited myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I understand that, right, when I really understand, again, like we talked about, the fire, the conviction of understanding myself as divinely made, right, that the divine and I are one. When I have really married myself to that possibility as truth, then I
Mm-hmm.
know that there are no outer laws,
Mm-hmm.
outer restraints, systemic oppressions that can actually bind me,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
The
Right.
only thing now, once that truth is made real for me, the only thing that can really bind me is what have I internalized from that oppression?
Right.
What have I limited myself around about what I believe is possible for me?
Right. Right. And immediately my mind goes to, so we were both at convention, CSL's convention a couple of weeks ago, and there were the lanterns to represent the lighting the way and getting to freedom. And as you're saying what you're saying, and the self-imposed and self-regulating, self-arresting limitations, what
Mm,
comes to my mind is the phrase that's often attributed to Harriet Tubman, I freed all of these people, and I could have freed more if only they had known that they were enslaved, which says in their consciousness they couldn't even recognize that they were in a box. Or when Frederick Douglass said, I prayed for freedom for 25 years, but I didn't get it until I prayed with my feet,
that's
which
right.
implies until I broke down that wall within myself that said, wait a minute, I'm expecting my freedom to come from somewhere, someone else, which means I'm keeping, it's time, come on, feet, it's time to go. It's time to move, right? But it's got to be,
Yeah.
I have to recognize my low self esteem, self doubt, self incrimination, all of that stuff. Those are limitations and restraints that if I'm not aware of, I could have all the freedom, all the access to all the money in the world. It's not going to make any difference because I'm going to continually hold myself back. So, yeah, amen.
Yeah, and it is labor intensive work.
Say the least.
Right?
I
Like,
think
shit,
that's one of the
I
reasons
want to
why.
lay down right now just thinking about it.
I think that's one of the reasons why so many people within New Thought are comfortable with the old version of New Thought rather than a more relevant version because it requires us to wax on, wax off. It requires us to go into who breathe. Like it requires I gotta liquefy to get the wings. Uber. I'm gonna just do Uber. Like the hell with them other trees. I'm comfortable on this branch. I don't need to fly nowhere. Right? Like it takes a transformation. And most of us are like, yeah, I don't. You said chop wood, carry water, and then I'm
Mm,
good
yeah,
because it's work.
yeah. And it's labor intensive in the sense that I get to stretch beyond right? What I thought was possible for me. And that's really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God, you know, thank God I get to have joy that I did not know was possible for me
Mm-hmm.
in this other older version of me. So
Mm-hmm.
that joy, that possibility, that greater peace, that more love, that more abundant life that has been promised, I get to move more and more in it.
Right, right.
And every time I push the boundary of what I understood as possible to something greater, I have to break that former idea. It has to break.
Yeah, yeah,
And sometimes that shit hurts.
yeah. You know, it's funny you say that because I just watched a documentary about Hans Zimmer, you know, does
Mm-hmm.
the scores for many a movie and, you know, Dune and whatnot. And he said something very similar to what you just said, where it's with every new score, he has to become a new person. He has to break the rules of what he imposed on the score before and on the score before until he gets here. And it's like, okay, strip this away, strip this away. Who do I have to become to create something new that hasn't been done before? Which reminds me once again that there is evidence all around us of how to do this work. We don't call what he's doing science of mind and spirit and new thought and metaphysics, but it's just being called a different name. But the process, the practice, the way the law of creation and the process of creation, all this, it's the same thing.
Right.
But here we get, and we make it real personal, and it's like, yeah, but it's different. You know, my stuff is versus I don't like the way I feel right now. I can identify I don't like this feeling, but guilt, shame, I don't like this. Roll up my sleeves, put on my sneakers. It's time to work.
That's right. That's right. I want to get free of it. I want
Mm-hmm.
to liberate myself of this false belief, this false narrative running in my head, this false understanding of how the world works and what's possible for me. I get free of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have to get free of as we move towards greater freedom.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's
Free from gives us the
particular.
space to be free too.
That's right. It's particular to like what I have to get free of is not going to necessarily be the same as what you've got to get free of.
Right, right, right. Even if it's the same grief for you, grief for me, it's not the same grief. Right? Like even if it's something as simple as eating the same, you have the exact same food on your plate that I have on mine. It's the same, you know, chicken wing, mac and cheese, it's the same vegan stuff. Like it's the same thing. But the way your taste buds and my taste buds interpret and feel it, it's still going to be different. And we try to make this spirituality thing a one size fits all versus no, like even that is a restriction that's
That's right.
holding
That
us
is
back.
in and of itself limiting to whoever is trying to use these tools to get
Mm-hmm.
free. Right. And
Right.
like that's, you know, for me, that's the whole point of all of this work is it's like every single person who wants to be free of all forms of suffering gets to have that, right? Discord, freedom from discord, sure to be attained by all.
Mm-hmm.
So, what that also means to me is we've got to be willing to get into the nitty gritty of the particulars of that for me, for you, for the people in my community, the people that I serve. Like, you get to name the burdens. You get to get really clear about what rules you got to break. What's
Mm-hmm.
got you limited? What glass ceiling have you bought into?
Mm-hmm.
And this is not easy work. We
Mm-hmm.
live inside of such heinous, ridiculous, harmful systems and structures that really do mean people harm,
Yeah, right, right,
that really actually mean us harm.
right.
So we have to be able to be so convicted and so willing to deepen in faith that there is actually something greater. There is a power greater than those systems. There is a force greater than this oppressive bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
That there is something even greater than the machine of the war and the industrialization of violence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is
Which,
big faith we're talking about.
uh-huh. Which just the fact that all of those things that you named were created by someone,
That's right.
right? Which means the same creative process, the same mind of law and action, the same created all of these systems of oppression. And if the same mind that these people chose to use in non-life affirming ways to create this, that shift in consciousness can change to now create universal peace, healthcare, acceptance, equity, justice. It's the same thing.
That's right.
Systemic racism isn't some boogeyman that lives in a mansion in, Beverly Hills or Mar-a-Lago. Like, it's not
Right. It's
someone.
not this unbeatable force.
Exactly. All of this was created.
That's right.
Someone thought it up and said, if I refuse Amani the right to vote, then I'll have more power. Someone had this idea because, for whatever reason, they had a self-imposed ideology of what power means, power over.
That's right.
I have to suppress someone in order for me to be elevated. That's all.
It's their own limited idea.
Yep. Yep.
And all limited ideas can be unlimited.
Amen. Exactly. And therein lies, that's the work you were talking about. We've got to identify that. Like, we have to have that conversation to even be able to say that, speak that into the room and say, it was created, it can be uncreated for a new creation to be put in its place. Let's have that conversation. Now, we're clear. We know what's what. We know who's doing what, who's the sous chef and who's mixing and who's stopping. we good? Now let's get to work.
Let's break some glass ceilings, right? Like, the shattering of these limited ideas is the work.
Yep. Yep.
What I call the triple F's. The work of building fucking fantastic futures.
Woo! Yes.
And it begins with shattering the limited ideas, the ceilings we have internalized.
Right.
About what is possible.
Right. Right. Right.
But we can.
Yeah.
It's the law.
Yes. Yes. And I know someone listening to this right now is automatically saying, yeah, but it's so much. It's so much. And it's breathe and think about, how do you eat? Do you eat the whole plate at one time, the entire bowl at one time, or is it one spoon at a time? When you go to your primary care physician, do they scan your entire body all at once, or do they check your pulse first, then your blood pressure, then? There's a process. Identify one thing that is a limiting idea, limiting paradigm. One thing. Is it an idea about money that I may have? Money doesn't grow on trees. That right there. Why are you reciting that?
Yes.
Why are you regurgitating that? Okay, just take that one thing and now dissect it, do the work. Because what is that? It's a old Zen saying, how you do one thing, right? How you do anything is how you do everything, how you do this one thing, which is why samurais had to master at least 3 art forms. Because how you do flower arranging, poetry, swordsmanship, it's going to show up in everything. So you don't have to fix every issue. You clean one room at a time.
That's right.
So breathe, people, relax, take a rest.
And just, it helps me to think about the glass ceiling. I think about it like, what's the sugar? There's rock candy.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Think about your glass ceiling. The limit idea is rock candy. Just shatter the shit out of it, and then like lick your fingers, because it's all made up. It's all made up, and
Mm-hmm.
we are so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
We are so powerful. We have all kinds of evidence telling us so. And this is the work of spiritual living, is to step further and further and more into that unlimited, infinite potential and power.
Yep. Open at the top.
Open at the top.
Right? Or open at the top and open at the bottom. Like pull it in from the darkness and from the get it from everywhere. It's all that we are. That's what it means. Like you said, that's the living. It's not just doing it. It's not just this thing. It's not just this checklist. It's how do we engage the entire process of what it means to live our lives
Yeah.
with this awareness.
Yeah. More and more and more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Unlimited potential. The 3 F's.
Yes, yes, yes. I like that.
And so it is.
So it is.